When one of the guys who's supposed to be your best player plays like one of your worst, yeah, that's a reason to drink. Avs lose to the Winnipeg Jets 5-2. Yes, MacKinNone was quite bad in this game, and we'll get to that, but first there are some other issues that have been persistent through this poor streak of games for the Avs. Firstly being, of course, their terrible first periods. This Jets game would mark the fourth straight game where the Avs would struggle in the first, and this one was as bad as any of them. Right from the get-go, the only player that seemed ready for opening face-off was Varley. He made a couple of nice saves early, but it didn't really seem to spark anything for the Avs skaters. The Avs had just 2 shots on goal through the first 10 minutes of the period. In fact, they would end the period with just 4, so clearly they weren't generating any offense. About 9 minutes into the period, Patrick Nemeth takes the first penalty of the game, and this high-powered Jets offense, you know they're gonna make them pay. For a team that loves to use the seam pass, the Avs don't defend against it very well. Gabe Bourque jumps way out high on this penalty kill here, leaving a huge gap between him and Dries. An easy cross-ice pass comes across, and then the Jets do something the Avs really struggle to do. Get the puck down low in front of the goal. It gets thrown into the slot here. It bounces around a little bit. Not a clean recovery, but eventually comes out and over to the near side where it gets chipped in. Nothing too fancy there from the Jets, but what they did is they made the Avs skate, forced them to spread out, and then collapse, and that's how breakdowns happen defensively. The Avs really could take a cue from this for their own power play. So this was a bad start for the Avs, but at this point it still wasn't truly terrible. Down 1 after 1 isn't the end of the world if this had sparked the Avs to start upping their game a little bit. The problem is it didn't. The Avs continued to just trudge along and look like a poor hockey team for the rest of the first. And you just don't get away with that against a good team like the Jets. They put another one in the back of the net a few minutes later. This one ends up being a bit of a softie, but I do want to show something the Jets do very well here. Initially it's a broken play. Girard ends up blocking a puck here, but it bounces off of him and out into the center of the zone. As the Jets recollect here, watch how quickly they snap off 2 passes to get the Avs chasing the puck instead of being ahead of the play. There's no way defensively you can keep up when you chase that puck around like that, and then obviously Varley just gives up one he has to save. In a lot of ways, at least offensively, the Jets play how I want the Avs to play. The Avs have the speed and skill to play like that. Of course, when their passing looks terrible, as it often has in the first period, you just can't. And I do think the Avs will get there eventually, but it might be a year or 2. The Avs would get a late power play in the first, and this is where it really started to show that MacKinNone was off his game. During this power play, a number of times, everything just died on his stick. At the time, you mostly just chalked it up to the Avs top power play unit's normal struggles, but as the game wore on, you would see that it was more squarely on MacKinnon's shoulders. And so the Avs are down 2 after 1. Also on this slide, the Avs have consistently come out and looked like a better team in the second period, and that was no different here. And that's why the first period is so frustrating. They can immediately show how much better than that they are. And this wasn't a great second period by any means, but the Avs quickly showed that their offense at least had a pulse, with even the top line and a struggling MacKinNone getting some good chances early, and then the depth started to chip in as well. The Avs would get in a little bit of penalty trouble, but honestly it was a bit of a weird period where the team penalty killing seemed to get the better chances on their kills. So the Avs got 2 really good chances on their first kill. Unfortunately, they basically just buried them right into Hellebuck. Moving right along quickly here, the second period wasn't that exciting despite it being a better one for the Avs. You get later on in the period, the Avs get a power play chance that they don't do anything with, but in the 15 seconds of time the second power play unit got on it, they do a good job to draw a secondary penalty, giving the Avs an additional 2 minutes. That extra 2 minutes, the Avs looked a little bit better. They even managed to ring a post for the 10th bad post of the season. That number is starting to get closer to where I kind of expected it to be. Just unfortunate that the Avs couldn't get it to within 1 during the second period. MacKinnon would also have a couple of great chances on this power play that he would just shank. One of them, he basically had an open net to put it into. He just couldn't hit the 4x6. By that point, you definitely knew that MacKinnon was having an off game. And that means that for the second straight period, the Avs failed to score, and it's still 2-0 after 2. The good news is the Avs seemed to get stronger as this game went along, at least until it all fell apart. So the third period was a quick start for them, and it didn't take long to finally break through. While the top line didn't get it done tonight, the Avs got some much-needed offense from a few places that it's been sorely lacking for the second or third game in a row, really. This time, first, it would be the Condor to get on the board. Soderberg's going to take this puck up the near boards and then drop it for EJ as he comes in from the point. From there, EJ's just going to notice that he has a lot of space to step into the circle here, and then he just makes a great move. First, he's going to pull it in towards the slots and take Myers, essentially his stick at least, out of this play. As soon as he does that, he realizes Trouba has an opportunity to poke check him and does a great job flipping it back to his forehand side off of his backhand, leaving him just enough room to wrist one up over Hellebuck. A great play for EJ there. He's been one of the players that has struggled quite a bit for this slide the Avs have been on. If you can get him going defensively, then you're really starting to round out a defensive core and hopefully get rid of some of the issues that they've had. Defensive scoring has also been on a significant uptick during this losing streak for the Avs, so if you keep that going, once you start getting the other pieces up to serviceable levels, they're going to continue scoring a lot of goals. So now you're right back in this game. It's 1 goal difference and there's still plenty of time on the board, and then this is where the real breaking point for MacKinnon comes in this one. MacKinnon attempts to break out a puck here, and he gets stopped fairly easily. He ends up getting to the boards with the puck while the Avs are in a change. He doesn't really look anywhere here. He doesn't try to do anything with this puck. He just kind of half-heartedly attempts to slap it back to Patrick Nemeth. Not only does he fail to slap it back to Nemeth, but he essentially just passes it directly back to Wheeler. From there, it's a 2-on-1 break against Nemeth, easily across, and a tap-in. I mean, you just can't do that. Period. End of story. If you're not a superstar, that's a play that gets you benched for the rest of the game. MacKinnon, though, is a superstar, which honestly makes it that much more unacceptable. I get it. MacKinnon can't carry the team every night. That's not what I'm asking here. What I'm asking is you have to not be a negative impact on the team if you're one of the team's best players. It's just really, really hard to win if you're actively hurting the team when you're one of the carries. What's worse is the Avs had momentum at that point. One lazy play cost them everything. And just for the cherry on top, that would end up being the eventual game-winning goal. So yeah, just not good from MacKinnon, and it's not a huge worry. We know this is not who he is, and on most nights he's going to be much, much better than this. So long term, it's fine, but you can't look at this and tell him it's okay. And I know as the Avs are on their way to their 5th straight loss here, it's tough to find positives, but the Avs really did stay in this game and continued to push. And while it has been tough, I think this next goal for the Avs could be one of the biggest positives from this entire stretch. First of all, a nice crisp breakout pass from Tyson Barrie to find Alex Kerfoot up at the blue line. Kerfoot gains the zone with speed, and you see Jost cutting in as the second man right to the high slot. Kerfoot is still a very good passer. You know he's going to be able to find him, and Jost makes no mistake, potting his first even strength point of the year. That could be a huge goal long-term for Tyson Jost. He returns to the lineup and immediately starts producing points. The Avs were desperately looking for that from him when he was healthy. Now that he's back, maybe it's a little bit of a spark. Over the past 3 games, the Avs have had goals from Dries, Kerfoot, Zadorov, Calvert, Cole, now Jost as well, so they're getting plenty of depth scoring. It has consistently been there. It's just that the defense and top line scoring has been a little bit suspect, along with some goaltending. It's hard to fire on all cylinders at once, but if the Avs just get 1 or 2 more of those pistons pumping, they're going to start winning a lot of games. And Tyson Jost could certainly be a piece to consistently getting points out of your depth. So you bring it back to within 1, you have a real chance in this game still despite the mistakes, and then the Avs draw a penalty. This is MacKinnon's chance to really redeem himself, pick up a power play goal here, and get the Avs to a tie score. He just doesn't manage to do it. The top line in general does not have a good power play at all, and the Avs are still down 3-2. Shortly after that, Sheldon Dries takes a penalty, and of course Winnipeg capitalizes. Some goals are just straight pretty. Avs do a great job of protecting the seam pass here. It's just beautiful sauce over the sticks, right to Laine, and Laine unleashes a clapper that's not going to get stopped. Pretty goal. The Avs just can't put themselves in that situation in the first place. That's the way it goes, and Winnipeg certainly deserved to win this game. They were the better team for the majority of it. They would dump one into the empty net to make it 5-2 a bit later, and that was that. Now, this was an interesting game for me watching. Initially, I was pretty upset with how the Avs played and wasn't going to be happy with this loss, but as the game went on and as I thought about it, I kind of came to accept it as all right. Obviously, what MacKinNone did is not acceptable. He needs to be better, but when you account for that and the rest of the team's resiliency, especially in the early parts of the third period, the Avs gave themselves a chance to win this game where the top line really didn't do much. Yes, 5 straight losses is also a bad thing, but if you look at this stretch of games, Nashville's a good team. You're going to lose to them sometimes. Winnipeg is arguably an even better team. You're going to lose to them sometimes. The first loss of all of this stretch, Minnesota on a back-to-back where they were rested and we weren't. You're going to lose a lot of those games. The Avs' hot start to the season gave them a cushion. They've essentially erased all of that, but they could afford to do this once. Now it's time to see who this team really is. You have a game against Edmonton tonight that is bordering on a must-win if the Avs really want to consider themselves a playoff team, and then you get a number of easy games, allegedly easy, coming up after that. So the Avs really need to put together a few wins here, and if they do, it won't really be much of an issue. Oh yeah, Laine also rang a post at some point in this game, so that number goes up 1 as well to 16. That is the end of this game video review. Thank you for watching. Hopefully my next one has a bit of a different tune to it because these are starting to get repetitive. I'm Rudo3, and I just want some good hockey.